We're back on the floor because this place has the most natural light in my apartment, and the days are getting shorter and darker in Sweden, so we'll probably be spending more time in this spot going forward. I also think it's an interesting backdrop. So I spent the last week in Italy on vacation, and I brought two things back with me. The one thing I picked up was this shirt here on a secondhand store in Rome. It's wonderful. I love the colors, and it really fits into this colder autumn weather that we're starting to have in Sweden now. So really nice. And the other thing I picked up is this. Let me see if I can show you. Yeah, there we are. So this is the third book in the Harry Potter series in Italian. I've been reading through the first two over the last 2 years. I'm slowly learning Italian. And I wasn't able to find this online for a reasonable price, but I saw it in a bookshop in Rome and was super happy to pick it up. I have, I guess, until the next time I go back to Italy to finish this one. I want to talk about two things I kept thinking about while in Italy. The first thing is the way the Italians are. Italy is pretty chaotic. We spent time in Rome and in Naples, which are very busy cities, and their environments are so chaotic, but they don't seem to be stressed about it. They seem very good at not stressing out about things in their environment, and they also seem to be very comfortable in their own skin. They don't mind being themselves. They don't mind talking very loudly. They don't mind being, characters. This is something we're pretty bad at in Sweden. As a culture, I think we spend a lot of time and mental effort thinking about what other people are thinking of us. We are also, I think, very good at finding very small things and then letting those things annoy or stress us. So having this more laid-back energy is something I want to bring back with me and kind of incorporate into my own life. The other thing that I kept thinking about was when you're in Rome specifically, you're around all these amazing buildings, and they're so grand, they're so self-evident that it's very hard to think of them as anything but the finished product. But the fact is that for a lot of the time, they weren't the finished product. St. Peter's Basilica, which is the kind of the main base, home camp for Christianity, it took 120 years to build. So when you see today, it's this incredible structure with amazing stonework, amazing design. The architecture is unreal. But for a lot of its time, 120 years is a really long time, it wasn't this finished thing. It was something that was in progress. Someone had an idea, right? There was an architect, there was a designer, several of them, in fact, working together for the finished piece. And they had a vision, but then every day people would go there and do really basic things. There must have been masons that came in, put a couple of bricks down, or finished placing a stone in the right place for their whole career, and they never saw the finished product. Maybe they worked for 30 years, but by the time they left, they still had another 50 years to go before it was finished. But in the end, what came out was this amazing thing. And I think that's such a beautiful thought, that you can have these grand ideas for your life. You can have dreams and ambitions that seem unreal to you, or that seems like they're so out of reach. But if you just focus on the day-to-day work, doing the small things, then the rest will work itself out. It is all about taking little steps every day and being consistent in that work. And I like that idea of having grand visions, but then breaking it down into small steps, and that's what you interface with every day. You don't have to always see the bigger picture. Sometimes it's fine to just go through the motions and trust the process. Really inspiring. So I wasn't able to get much work done last week, but I had a short session yesterday, and this is where I picked things up. This is a static to-do list where you can add items and you can change the status, but it's general to every user in the app. So the first thing I wanted to do was to make this user specific. To do that, I needed a user settings page. That was the first thing. And then also something I have that I wanted to implement was tracking subjective values. This would be something where you can just track a statistic using a numeric value, so sleep score over time, for example. This is super interesting to me. I want to be able to have many of these and then to have statistics and correlate the way they change over time. So I did a little bit of programming. I set up a super basic settings page, which was good because I had to build some logic on the user to keep track of their settings for the to-do list, basically. So I've been putting this off, and this is what we ended up with. Super basic, and you can add these numerical values using a small window like this. So what is it you want? What is it that you want to track? And then what's the scale, basically. While I was in here, I also ended up doing a little bit of coding to have just a start of where the user can customize the tasks that go into their daily to-do. This is something that I hadn't thought I would do it, but then I was doing similar things anyway, so it just ended up convenient. And you can see here is what I kind of ended up with at the end. So we have the values at the top here, and then you can add tasks at the bottom. The thought is that these are the ones that will form the mold or the reference that each day you have a new unique to-do list, and that is generated based on how you set up the configuration in your settings page. So I ended up with this final screen that you see here, where we have the numbers on top. And next week, the goals are fairly simple. I want to take this and I want it to be generated daily based on what you put in your to-do list setting page. And then I want to be able to have it, like I said, generated daily and then retired daily as well. So you can have a history and you can see this is what I did yesterday or 2 days ago, and this is my current one. That's a good goal for next week. So let's see where we go.